Good morning, everyone. The Delaware County Commissioner meeting for November 15, 2018 is now in session. Would you stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I sit there in panic. I forgot to put my phone in vibrate, and I was afraid it would go off on me, couldn't fled. So I'd like to make introductions. To my right is Vice President Commissioner Barb Lewis. To my left is fellow Commissioner Jeff Benton. Sarah DeNova is our clerk today, and Don is our administrator today. With that, let's proceed.
Resolution number 18-1261, in the matter of approving the electronic record of the proceedings from regular meeting held November 8th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 18-1261. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We have no public or elected comment this morning. Resolution number 18-1262, in the matter of approving purchase orders, then and now certificates and payments of warrants and batch numbers CMA PR 1114 and memo transfers and batch numbers MTA PR 1114.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 18-1262. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-1263, in the matter of approving travel expense requests.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 18-1263. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-1264, in the matter of approving a transfer of appropriation for the Sheriff's Office.
So move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning. Thank you, Board. This is just a request to reappropriate money within our budget to cover the remaining 3 payrolls for our frontline deputies, to cover the part of the compensation for our weight enforcement deputy out of the bridge and road and bridges funds. And then we've had some greater expenses this year in the transport, I think, of out-of-state prisoners, and so this reappropriation within our budget should cover that for the remainder of the year. So that's why I'm before you today, and take any questions and respectfully make the request.
For the record, this is Sheriff Martin.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I just noticed that you have to pick up people from all over the country, and even Mexico, I believe?
Yeah, and staff let me know not too long ago, we had one particular inmate that was particularly troublesome. They couldn't even fly him because of his activity, so that cost a lot more to transport him across the country. So
Okay.
they're out there being vigilant, catching the bad guys, and unfortunately there's a cost that comes associated with that. So, but we think this request today will cover that for the rest of the year.
Any questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 18-1264. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Resolution number 18-1265, in the matter of approving a transfer of appropriation for juvenile court.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Good morning, Karen Watkins, Fiscal Coordinator for the Juvenile and Probate Court. Much like Sheriff Martin just mentioned, it's reappropriating some funds to cover the remaining payroll out of our juvenile DYS reclaim project. And then we're also closing out our SVAA project. It runs from October to September. So in order to close out, we need to just move things down so we can do a refund back to the state for that.
Any questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 18-1265. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolution number 18-1266, in the matter of approving a supplemental appropriation for the State Victims of Crime Act grant and payment of invoice.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Morning, Commissioners. Karen First, Fiscal Manager. Nicole Ford asked me to step in because she had to be at training this morning. The Prosecutor's Office needs to repay the grant because they weren't able to use all the funds. And this grant is awarded to one individual in the Victim Services Unit, so they couldn't move it to pay for another employee or anything. So
All of $366.
correct, yes.
Any questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 18-1266. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. Thank you, Karen.
Resolution number 18-1267, in the matter of approving a transfer of appropriations and supplemental appropriation for adult court services.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Good morning, Kay Baglione, Office Manager for Adult Court Services. Yes, like Sheriff Martin and Karen Watkins, we need to pay the salaries for the rest of the year, so we need to reappropriate monies.
Does this change your budget?
No, it's just, it does and it doesn't. Because they're small, most of them are small amounts. This grant was given to us, or one of the grants was given to us in 2017, and so we had to try to estimate how much money would be needed for salaries and insurance. And in some instances, we fell just a little bit short. So the money's there. We're not asking for the county that the money's in the grant.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Vote?
Vote on motion 18-1267. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-1268, in the matter of approving sanitary sewer subdividers agreement for courtyards at the ravines.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
Morning, Commissioners. Tiffany Mag, Director of Environmental Services. This is a standard sewer subdividers agreement for a development that's off of Lewis Center Road, just east of 23. 55 units are included in this development and a clubhouse. We request your approval.
Any questions or comments? Vote?
Vote on motion 18-1268. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-1269, in the matter of accepting sanitary sewer improvements for Evans Farm, Section 1, OECC.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
We have the long-awaited approval of the west side of Evans Farm for Phase 1. This includes 51 lots, and this is the side that goes to OECC, so we request your approval.
Any questions or comments? I know we're well represented with Evans Farm
Yeah,
today.
exactly.
I don't know if you just came to listen or you came to comment. No, we came to listen. Okay. Now that you're fully embarrassed, we can proceed.
Yeah, it's good to see this thing, obviously. I know we've had a bunch of challenges with the sewer
Yeah, they've
work
done
and connection in particular.
very significant amount of rework, and we really appreciate that the sewers are now in a condition where they need to be for us to own and operate them for the next 50 years. So we're thankful that we're at this point. It took us a long time, but it's nice to be here requesting acceptance.
Yeah. What is next on this? Is Section 2 then?
So there's also a Phase 1 on the Alum Creek side. That's called the east side. We'll be requesting acceptance of that within the next month or sooner. They're pulling mandrels on that side tomorrow. So at that point, they'll be getting us the bonds and all the paperwork and the as-bills that we need to be able to put it on session. So they're pretty much finished with that side too.
Okay. Now, I know the Parade of Homes announced that they're going to be at Evans Farm next year. Congratulations. That's a really nice feather in your cap and certainly the county. So where would the Parade of Homes go then?
So the parade is in both, right?
It would
Correct me if
cover.
I'm wrong, but it's kind of right in the middle. So
Okay.
it's like they have, the entrance, if you've seen that. The parade homes are right around the entrance, so half of them are on the OECC side, half of them are in the Elm Creek side. So
Oh, okay.
they got approval to actually start building those lots a while back. If you remember, we talked about that a few months ago. But this will just be basically pulling the plugs on the downstream side so that they can actually start sending flow through those sewers.
Again, congratulations on that. It's good for everybody.
Moving right along. It's great.
Very good. We're all
Yes.
pleased with that.
Yes.
I'm sure Orange Township is too.
Yeah, yeah.
If there's no other questions or comments, vote.
Vote on motion 18-1269. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-1270, in the matter of authorizing the Delaware County Sewer District's participation in an Ohio Department of Administrative Services contract for uniform rental.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
This is a 3-year contract with Cintas for uniforms for all of our operators and union employees. So we request your approval for this contract.
What do we do today?
Currently, we use Aramark for our services. We have a very difficult time with Aramark. That's why we're switching to Cintas. I think roughly 90% of our deliveries are incorrect. They come back with the wrong names on the clothes. You know, we request that they fix holes and zippers and things like that, and they don't fix anything. I think, you know, there's a reason why they were about $5,000 cheaper, is because their services, it's very, very poor. And with the conditions that these guys work in, you know, in the sewage and, you know, needing the flame-resistant clothing, it needs to come back the way that we need it to come back. So that's why we're switching to Cintas.
Is it substantially more, just modestly more? Or?
It's about $5,000 per year more.
What,
The contract is, I think, $42,000 per year.
again, kind of a general philosophical point is, this is a good example, I think, where we could do some shared services and negotiate countywide with all the uniform.
Yeah, I think I heard
Plus-
John Melvin a week or so ago going into a contract with Aramark for his services. So I did, you know, kind of contemplate that a little bit and talk to my guys about that. It sounds like John's guys take their clothes home and wash them themselves because they're not working with raw sewage. So that's not really an option for us.
Is that part of their contract? They just do it because they want to?
I'm not sure. Maybe Dawn could speak to that.
I'm not sure either. I'd have to check into that.
So yeah, I think that our conditions are a little different, where we need to go that extra step of having the clothes washed and returned in a fashion that we can wear them and not have holes in them and things like that.
That contract hasn't come before us yet.
I thought I heard it a week
Or
or
has
so
it?
ago.
Has it? Okay.
Yeah.
You said very negative things about them, so
Well, they are the cheapest, so if you don't need your clothes washed, maybe that's fine, you know, so.
but to Commissioner Benton's point, as we look into shared services or purchasing as a county, this is another item that
Right.
theoretically should be looked into.
On
And
the radar.
and I know that we're starting the process of evaluating that, so there's probably a list of some of the more significant ones that we should start from, but I think it makes it better for everybody if we can get a better price and if we can get some economies of scale and maybe hold people more accountable.
Yep, no, that makes sense.
So that's my comments. Any other questions or comments? No. Vote?
Vote on motion 18-1270. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-1271, in the matter of approving amendment number 4 to the contract between the Delaware County Board of Commissioners and Hazen and Sawyer, P.C. for the Alum Creek Water Reclamation Facility Process Improvement Upgrade Project.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 1, 2.
Did you want to say
sorry.
anything? I apologize.
Yeah, let's hear it from
I
Jeff.
didn't
something.
give you an opportunity. I
Pretty
apologize.
expensive contract, I should probably say something.
Okay.
So this contract is for construction services for the Alum Creek project that we just got into contract with Peterson Construction for. This is for the consultant Hazen and Sawyer to perform construction administration. There's also some instrumentation and control factory testing of the new PLCs that we're purchasing. There's also, they're going to be writing an O&M manual once this is complete for the operation of these units that they're installing. There's also startup assistance for our guys, and then also training on this equipment. So that's $188,000, and that's what's authorized in the contract. Additionally, we have $307,000 as authorized services, and that's for, while we have Peterson on site, we feel like it might make some sense to have them look at kind of the next phase of work that really needs to happen, which is clarifier upgrades. Currently, we have a splitter box that's upstream of the clarifiers that doesn't operate correctly, and we're not able to use 2 of the clarifiers. We're only able to use the other 2 because the splitter box doesn't split flow correctly. So we're looking at basically the option to upgrade that splitter box while we have a contractor that's out there and can kind of give us some pointers and give us some direction on what would be the most feasible way to construct this. So the $307,000 would be, if we decide that it makes sense to do this project and to bid out these services for that next phase of work, we would have Hazen and Sawyer design that so that we could put something out on the street and get some bids on that project kind of as the next phase of this work. So kind of looking at, you know, trying to do this cost effectively while we have a contractor on site that can give us some ideas to design. So we request your approval. I don't know if you have any questions on that.
Questions or comments? Vote?
Vote on motion 18-1271. Mr. Bitton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. Thanks. Thank you, Tiffany.
Resolution number 18-1272, in the matter of approving supplemental appropriation and transfer of funds.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
Morning, Karen First, Fiscal Manager. The first supplemental and transfer is to the Capital Improvements Reserve Fund, and this represents the third quarter casino revenue distributed to the county. And the second supplemental is for the Road and Bridge Fund to match up the transfers that was approved with Resolution 18-12-10.
Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 1272. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Bitton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-1273, in the matter of approving a transfer of funds, supplemental appropriation, and a transfer of appropriation for the clerk of courts.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion. Vote.
So
Oh,
this-
my apologies.
oh,
Go ahead. I'm getting ahead of myself today. I looked up, there was nobody standing there, so I apologize.
I understand. So the first transfer of funds and the supplemental appropriation is for the Records Center scanning project, which was discussed with the Records Commission in October at their last meeting and supported by them. So we're requesting your approval of that so that we can move forward with this new scanning project that we will be transferring images that were pre our on-base system with this new scanner that we will have available. And there are approximately 15 million, almost 16 million images that will be transferring into this on-base software system. And then that involves the microfiche portion, and then the roll film portion, there's almost 6 million images. So it's a project that's going to take some time, but with this new scanning equipment, it's motorized and it's not manual like the scanners that we currently have. And all the research that we've done over the last few months has really paid off because we were able to take advantage of a holiday promotion that this World Micrographics was providing, and the quote for the equipment has decreased by about $15,000.
Gee.
So, and then the transfer for the Common Pleas Data Fund to the software license is essentially to pay for the support that we receive for the on-base system. They're now giving or sending the invoices at the end of the year versus mid-year. So they need these funds in order to pay the bill. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 18-1273. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Bitton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Brings us to administrative reports. Ms. Houston.
I don't have anything today.
Ms. Lewis?
I listened to a webinar that CCAO had on Wednesday morning about election results and recent trends. And Michael Dawson, who is a very well-known political consultant in Ohio, was the consultant that CCAO is contracted with to give us a lot of just updated political information. And so it was quite interesting. And one of the things that he mentioned was that on issue 1, elected officials, he said, had a big impact. People heard from prosecutors, judges, county commissioners, and they really paid attention because, again, on issues, there's usually less information. There might be advertising, as there was for this issue, but you know, people, you know, just aren't sure about that. They're not sure about the source of the advertising, and they're wise to look at the source of the advertising. In this case, so much of it was, well, it was from California and out of state, George Soros. And so they mentioned that by having us elected officials and others take a position on this, people who are trusted, such as their local officials, really, he said, really made the difference. And so, you know, that was great to hear. And CCAO did take an official position right up front, and we all know about what our prosecutor and our judges did. And so it's really good to hear when you've done something right and you've made a difference. So that was probably the main takeaway. A lot of other talked about polling, you know, just other election tidbits, but that was the main
Talk about Florida?
No, that was, yeah, that would have been, yes, that would have been interesting. Yeah, wish I would have.
On issue one, I don't know how accurate the poll was, but at one point, the issue was passing by 17%.
Oh,
A couple months before the election, and then ended up losing by roughly 20%, I think about 40%. So that's
Yes.
quite a turnaround of 37%, assuming you accept the accuracy of the poll that was done.
well, and he did talk about polling and how the polling had been off on issue one. He said they never really had more than 46%. Issue one did, and then he got into
But there may have been a
reasons.
lot of undecided.
Yes, yeah, that's the factor too that they forget. And then polling has become so much more difficult with cell phones. You have to call someone about 20 times in order to get an answer. And the response rates too are, you know, when they're given. The problem is we get polling results, but we don't have, you know, well, what are the response rates? And because the response rates on polling are very, very low. And so therefore, you know, the sample you're going to get, the people who are asked the questions are not representative of the population as a whole. So it was very interesting. And today we have a stepping up meeting and also a bed capacity meeting, because we always run into problems as to when people leave our jail or have other mental health issues, where are they going to stay? And so I noted, because of the outreach of Cassie Neff from the sheriff's office, she was able to bring in both Ohio Health and Mount Carmel to attend these meetings. So I'm really looking forward to meeting them this afternoon. So that's it.
Commissioner Benton.
A couple things. We had our monthly Transportation Improvement District, or TID, meeting yesterday. And it's really beginning to become much more active, and I think it'll really benefit the county in development efforts, particularly in transportation. They had several topics that were important. They are, Chris Bauserman, the chair of the TID, and obviously county engineer, was talking about presenting the $5 permissive license plate add-on fee to us for our consideration. So that will be brought forward soon. It would generate about $1 million a year. As we saw from the budget hearing for the engineer the other day, the planned transportation spending far exceeds the revenue. And we all know there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. And so Chris, I think, is considering this as an additional source of revenue. And a number of reasons. I mean, the gas tax is flat, the permissive fee, or the county's fee hasn't been increased in a long time, so I think it's worthy of a discussion. They had a number of projects that they're targeting to include in the Transportation Improvement District. Home Road extension east of 23 being one of the major ones, and that's $9 million-ish, you know, with all the costs. It can be done quicker, cheaper, easier. So that's one project they're targeting to put into the TID and have it run through there. Got some administrative stuff done, some looking at funding it from his budget and from general funds as well, to help keep that organization going and doing more projects, as well as obviously private funds. Land Bank is today at 2 o'clock. at Orange Township Hall, so, and that group is also just getting started. We've got some interesting topics there. Then lastly, the Wesleyan Inn was announced and was unanimously approved by the City Council. And it's going to be at just west of Stuyvesant Hall on William Street. It's going to take the Perkins House, remodel it, and then have an addition in the back. It's going to be 45 rooms or thereabouts, so it's going to be a really nice ad for the Delaware community, for Ohio Wesleyan. We need more rental, we need more hotel space, so very glad to see that get approved and move forward. So that's all I got,
Very good.
unless you have some things I haven't.
I hear land bank, I marked that off now.
Okay.
But I knew I wouldn't get to do it anyway. I knew you'd do that. Yeah, the land bank is there too, and we had an opportunity a few weeks ago to kind of go to a Land Bank
Yeah.
101,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
was helpful, I think, as far as gives us a little better understanding.
Yeah, there are some really active land banks, like in Maumee
One up in the
County.
Toledo area,
Oh,
Lucas
my gosh,
County.
they've done hundreds and hundreds of homes, and we may have a half dozen that we want to even take a look at.
I think what it provides us is an opportunity to deal with, we have few and far between, but they do exist, and if they can be addressed now, it means they don't sit there and continue to deteriorate and become an issue later. So we are fortunate being in a county that's not it's bad, a situation like Lucas County.
Oh, yeah.
Just a couple things. I went to the Sunbury Big Walnut Area Chamber of Commerce annual dinner last week, Thursday evening, and well attended. Their chamber is always very well attended. They do a great job over there, and my accolades to the job they do. And Commissioner Lewis and I were at the Veterans event last Friday at Source Point, which I thought went very well.
Yes.
And very well attended. They handled it a little differently than 3 years ago when they last had it. But I think the general feeling was it was done well, and it's my hope that it'll remain at Source Point. I think that's where it belongs, and it was a good event.
Well, congratulations to you for taking the lead
Well,
on that. You had
With the
several
support of
meetings
my,
on
support of my fellow commissioners. The past ones, due to no circumstance where anybody particularly was involved, just the location or whatever didn't work well, but the veterans deserve an opportunity to be saluted, fairly speaking, and acknowledged for the job they do, especially from the earlier wars, and it went very, very well. And I forgot about it, the parade Sunday, the Veterans Parade, I participated in that, and I have to say, you never know what to expect people-wise, and I certainly, the last person needs to be counting, but I'm going to say somewhere 2,500, maybe 3,000 people along the walkway. A lot of people downtown, and people between Owu and the fairgrounds. It certainly seemed at least that large, and these people coming out to salute the veterans for the job they've done should be acknowledged. So with that, I have nothing else. It's also my understanding, no executive session.
Correct.
And so with that, if there's no other business to bring before us, we are adjourned.
Did you?